All right, Mr. Ropes here. Hunting Convention 2019. We are Jay. B-Man Jay is going to put a hive, package of bees in a hive.
So that queen does not know these bees. So we need to get that pheromone over those bees. So if it's like the other day, it just came up here from Georgia, what I do, or what I suggest you do, as long as it's not over 85 degrees, you can open up your hive, pull out some frames. Actually, Chris was right. It's 4 frames. That's nice. I like to put the box down inside the hive here. Do it kind of carefully. The deep is a little deep. And then you can put it back together. And if you have time, come back. You know, you can put them over there overnight. The next day you come back. That gives the time for the pheromone to get across all those bees, and it's inside this hive. They will accept this hive much more because it smells like bees. If you take them right out, I've seen a lot of times they just like, no, we don't want it, and they take off. So if it's not too hot, because they can overheat in here if it's above 85 degrees, because there's not much ventilation. But then you come back out the next day, carefully pull your bees out. Don't drop them. They get mad if you drop them. Alright, so now I'm about ready to take this can out. The hardest part, when I was trying to take these cans out, I found a neat trick, but I'll tell you how everybody tells you to do it. They tell you, take your hive tool, get it underneath that edge of that can, and try to grip a hold of that can. It's really hard, especially with guys with big fingers. I found a much easier way to do this. Let me zip up, because now it will need a little protection. This hive and the bees is for auction, or no, raffle inside. We're doing that at 2 o'clock. The hive stand does not come part of it. The hive stand is $45 from Chris Kenzer inside. Almost zipped your thing there.
That's all right.
That wouldn't have been good. So
it was $10.
You can do this barehanded. It's best to do your bees with bare hands. Everybody's like, no, they want the big heavy leather gloves. They're nice because you're not going to get stung. I found when I started doing this barehanded or with the nitrate gloves, little thin ones, I get stung a whole lot less because I can feel the bees on the frame or whatever I'm picking up. I can wait till the bee moves out of the way, and then I can grasp it better and pull out the frame. Because when you're pulling out a frame out of the hive, there's going to be bees alongside. They're going to be over here on this. And just wait until they move out of the way. If you're holding on to that heavy leg, you're going to make them mad. That alarm pheromone goes in. Now everybody else is getting mad. Or the glove comes up, you know, to your forearm. I'll take the frame and I'll flip it up like this. Well, my wrist turns. I would get stung so many times in my wrist because I trap a bee in there. So it's better to do it barehanded. You can feel the bees. They'll move out of the way. They don't want to get crushed. They'll walk out of the way. Or use the nitrate gloves. Alright, so with this on, my earpiece fell off, but that's alright, I guess. Alright, so
do you need me to move?
zip up, hand slides right out.
Okay.
Much easier on you, much easier on the bees. You're not trying to get your fingers on it. Put it back down. Just don't pull it all the way out until you get back down, because you want to be able to see how far that queen cage started to slide down in there. It was almost down where it fell through. Pull this out, nice and easy. There's going to be a ton of bees on there. There's a little bit of a lip. You want to be nice and easy about it. There's going to be a bunch of bees on the bottom. You can either give it a good shake and knock some off, and then just put it somewhere. There's that queen cage. Anybody see the queen in there?
Oh yeah, I see her.
All right, now yesterday the candy was on the top, now it's on the bottom, so I got to move those bees to get to that candy. So you can either just slowly kind of push it across to get some of them off at least. At least they're starting to there, but you really got to get your fingers in there. So, like I said, the bees don't want to get stung. So if you just move slow, I can put my fingers on that wood. Now I got my fingers on there, and there's a bunch of bees, you know, about to drop in my hand. But it's all right. Oop, there we go. So I messed up, so I got to come down a little bit further. They moved out of my way. Rotate. Put my finger on the other side. There, girls, watch out. And I talk to my bees. It's therapeutic. I like to take PTSD veterans into the beehives because all of a sudden they just kind of calm down because they're in the moment. So it's really relaxing once you get used to this. Now here's a big old fat boy, a drone.
Oh, good.
And he won't let me pick him up. All right, but anyways, we'll go back to this. The drones are nice because the drones can't sting you. They don't have a stinger. So you can pick up the drones, and it's nice to practice on drones picking them up. Didn't want to get picked up, no. So you know how much pressure you can put on a bee. So in case the queen ever drops out in the grass, you know how much pressure you can actually pick her up and put her back in the hive with. So the reason for the pocket knife is there's two corks on this trap, or this queen cage. You need to pull out the cork on the candy side, and that will slowly release. They'll start eating that candy up into the cage, and the queen's trying to get out, so they'll be eating a little bit, and then that's kind of a slow release that gives more time for that pheromone to get onto the bees. So, and if you don't know where it's at, you can usually just take your knife and slowly kind of move it. You guys see that white candy? Sure, I don't trip on anything. You see that white candy? They're starting to already go back to it, but that's the side I want to take the cork out on. If I take the cork out on the other side, the queen will come right out, and if they don't know her or they don't like her, they will ball her up and they will kill her. So you want that slow release. Now in about 3 or 4 days, you want to come back in here and make sure they've ate that candy out and they've released her. If they haven't, then you want to take the cork out on the other side. So I want to brace myself somewhere where I'm not going to hurt any more bees. And that cork is a pain in the butt to get out because they poured the candy. Oh, that one came right out.
Yay.
Yesterday I had to dig and dig and dig and dig, but this time it came right out. There we go. Knocked it right out of there. But that's that little cork. Make sure you take it out on the candy side. And another nice thing you can do is give them just, if you got a nice long pocket knife like this or a nail, you can just stick it down in there and just give it a little bit of a twist. Kind of eat up that candy a little bit. So they got something to kind of start on eating. How many of you remember Necco wafers?
Yeah.
That candy is Necco wafer. That's where the company started making candy. Alright, so now the next thing. My workbench is in the way. It's nice to have a longer workbench or at least something to put stuff on. I like to drive my truck behind my hives, flip down the tailgate, and then I can put my use my tailgate as a workbench. If you don't have enough land, you can always just use a little cart or one of those painters benches, pulls out. So there's wood on the back, on every other side. There's only that screen on one side. You want to make sure it's either facing to the back or facing to the front. If you face it this way, you're going to smother her and she's going to die. You're going to suffocate. This one's nice since, well, no, we're going to do it that way again. Two philosophies on candy up or candy down. Some people like the candy down. That way the bees will have a better chance of eating up. I don't like that in case one of those attendants inside dies, falls on top of that hole, then the queen can't get out. And if you don't get out there in a few days, she could overheat and die. I like the candy up, so if they do drill a hole down through there and one of those 10 bees inside the cage with the queen dies, she's at the bottom, and that way she can still climb out. So, get you another frame. There's just too many of you on here. bro. Bunch of drones too. I'm more happy about that.
Smoker. I think it went out though. Just for Becky.
I'll almost see the thing. Okay, so there's no attendant in here.
Uh-oh.
I've seen that inside walking around upside down. It's kind of hard to see in that tent. Trip on something. Well, yeah, they're all kind of circling around there, just trying to feed her. Down, so. She's just trying to run around down in there.
She didn't get an attendant? That's not
What I want to do is make sure that screen is either facing forward or backwards. Since there's only one queen in there, there's no attendants. It's much easier to hold the tab, and then you can kind of move it around. They'll walk off the side of that frame onto the honeycomb or the foundation there. Slowly move that one over. And I moved it over a little bit too quick, and I could feel that bee getting mad. She was trying to vibrate, so I just waited a second. She got out of the way. There's a little bit slower drone. So you can pick up those drones, and you can tell that, you know, you can push on his abdomen. He's not going to sting you. Grab a hold of his front leg. If you really want to freak somebody out, throw it in your mouth. So then we just want to put some frames in, make sure that queen cage doesn't drop like I dropped it yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Alright, so it takes about 6 to 8 pounds of honey to draw 1 pound of wax. So this syrup can you can leave somewhere near the hive so that they can get to it. They're going to start going out once we move the tent, or even open up the tent. They'll go out and start foraging. But they got to draw all this out before the queen can even start laying eggs. Alright, so now the scary part, unless you drop that queen cage down in there, and you gotta sit here and you gotta reach down in, and you gotta pull back out, that's not fun. I was hoping a big guy, and I mean he's 6'8", he's got meat cleavers for hands, and I told him he had to reach down in there, and he just looked like I was crazy, so I ended up having to reach down in there because he dropped it. But alright, so that can stay there. Now the fun part. If you're trying to be gentle with the bees, up in this point, you do want to be gentle. Make sure there's no bees on the side, so when you get like this, you can whoops, get a little wiggle. Somebody wasn't happy. She stung me in the hand.
You get stung again.
I pushed her. She was right there. So that's a stinger right there. So you get used to the stings the more you do it. You didn't see me go, ow, throw my hand back and freak out. You will get used to the stings after a while. You hardly ever get stung if you do all the right things. I didn't feel her because she was right there in my knuckle when I pushed up against. So you see the bees are already starting to come out.
Yeah, they're
festooned.
gravitating towards her.
So you can just kind of do it lightly, or you can get the job done.
Oh.
Whoops.
You don't know your own time with it,
Yeah.
boy.
So, I mean, you don't have to be that gentle to them. Just make sure there's not a bee on the side when you
punch it.
That's not fun. And make sure there's not a bee when you put your hand on her. You'll get stung.
You need to take up karate, Jay.
But I'm actually in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. But anyways, that's another story. But that stinger, you notice I wanted to get it out of my hand and put it over here as quick as possible. When that stinger pulls out, there's a pheromone lets go. It kind of smells like banana, and the bees know where to hit you after that. So you want to get that stinger out as soon as possible. You notice everybody's not out. You'll never get all of them out unless you break the side and like dispose of the box. But so there's a bee right there. Get out of here, bro.
If you want to get the job done.
Take them out eventually. Alright, so they're not getting out. They're happy in there, I guess. So put it down there for the moment. And So I'm pretty much done, right? Got the bees in the box, queens in the box, the cork's out of the queen cage, syrup's in the way. So, you notice they've gone right back to that syrup. It's free nectar for them right now. So, just gonna slowly move across so they get out of the way. We'll put that back up on top here in a second. I can smell a little bit of queen pheromone. The queen.
Sorry, I didn't mean to wear my glasses.
Clean
I
water.
don't know if you guys can put your pen up. Some people can smell it really good. The queen's pheromone kind of smells like lemon pledge to me. If you put your face right down, it smells good. So, anyways, putting on the inner cover. This one only has one notch. Some have two notches. Some have the recess on one side. Some have recesses on both sides. This one has the recess. You want to put that down because if you put it this way, it's going to kind of push down those bees. You may kill a bunch of them. So I want it up, and then I want that notch to the front. I'll explain why in a minute. So the bees don't like vibration. So if I smack this, I'm going to really make them mad. But if I just pull this board back, and I slowly kind of wiggle it, they don't like that vibration. So they're going to slowly move away from that board. Sometimes they just pain in the butt. Come on, girls. Come on. And you're probably going to kill a bee once in a while, no matter how careful you are. If I got down, you know when you killed a bee because you'll hear it. And you're like, oh. But the only reason I don't like these boards here is now when I go to put out the other cover, I got to make sure all these bees are off here and they don't come back by the time I go to put that board on there. So some people will tell you the board goes the other way. Personal preference, you'll learn that a lot in beekeeping. Everything is personal preference. Come on, girls, get out of the way. So you can see, if you use your fingernail, and usually you can flick them off before they have a even chance to sting you. Come on, girls.
They're not cooperating.
That's where if you have a smoker, you can smoke it. Just like if I came up to you and I blew a bunch of smoke in your face, you're going to back up from me. Same thing, if I blow smoke on here, they're going to get out of the way. But I hardly ever use smoke. So what I'm going to do again is just put that down nice and slow. Oop, my board moved a little bit. So you just got to move it down. There we go, come on. Sometimes they're a little tight fit, probably because I don't have it lined up right. There we go. So, since it's a new package, I don't have that sitting on there yet, do I? Oops, sorry girls. Yeah, don't put your finger on the bees, they get mad about that. There we go. Oh, one little crunch, that wasn't good. If you slide it forward, that little notch up here gives it an upper entrance. And I have the entrance juicer in the front to the smallest point so they have a lower entrance. Since it's a beginning hive, I want to just pull that top back so it closes up that upper entrance. And they only have to guard that one little small entrance in front. As the hive becomes stronger, then you want to move it to the bigger area. You know, it's a bigger opening. And then eventually you can just take it out of the way once the hive's strong enough. But you want to give them the least amount of area so that they have to defend. So then, I usually wait until they get about 4 frames filled up and you start seeing kind of a congestion at that little entrance, then you can flip it around and make a bigger entrance. When you start seeing a congestion there, then you flip it around, or you pull it out. So I usually just take the board here, sometimes. The side of the box broke.
Yeah.
There we go. Alright, so I take that, make sure where the bees are, they're all kind of right back here at this one, and I just, come on girl, get out of the way. And I just put it on there like that. That way they can crawl up underneath, they still could, because this can's still at least 3/4 full. Because we're so close to Georgia when we get the bees, most of the bees are packages are coming from Georgia. There are a few local suppliers, but that pheromone hasn't had a chance to get all over those bees. The can hasn't had a chance to draw out, so they still need a little bit of nectar. Like I said, still a bunch of bees in there. They just haven't got the memo to get out of there. And make sure I don't squish that little girl on the side. Eventually they'll come out and they'll start going in the hive. If they're happy in there, which there's a bunch of bees in there, you haven't really seen that many come out there. I mean, there's some up here in the tent and there's some flying around, but they're pretty much happy in there right now. They got that sugar syrup in there and they're starting to try to make wax and draw it out. So once they get happy with this, they'll start kind of fanning that entrance, and that queen's pheromone will start coming out of the hive a little bit. You can smell that lemon pledge. These bees will figure out, okay, we need to go inside here. All right, so at that point, you just clean up your mess. You can leave the bee box out there for a day or two. They'll come out of the box. You can take your buddy's knife and pocket it like I did yesterday. And he got home and he went to cut something and he started freaking out. So
Yeah.
well,
You can just slide
we're
it.
on this side and open up.
How about
the tent.
sliding out the fence, out the bottom here, Jay?
So these handmade hive tools, they're from Chris Kenzer along with the base here. Chris came out here yesterday.
I think he lost his earpiece.
So he sells both the hive tools and the hive stands. He makes them himself down in Athens. The box here, there's actually a medium box, so you get another box, another 10 frames. There's a queen extruder, there's a weeder in there, and of course you get the box and the bees. So if you want to enter the raffle, then you can maybe win this. So I'll grab that drone again. Poor guy. Well, I smashed my thumb. Oop, I grabbed a worker. Don't do that. But if you get good enough, then you can, you know, grab a worker. I mean, you can sit here and you can pet your bees if you want to. You know, she gets a little mad if you do it too hard, but I mean, you can touch the bees, you can play with the bees. When I first started out, I had 2 hives. I put my chair right about here, and I would go out at lunchtime with a drink and a sandwich and just watch the bees fly in and out. And they never bothered me. I didn't have a bail on or anything. But when I did get into the bees, wear a bail. It only takes one sting in your eye, you'll definitely, you most likely will go blind. All right, see how they're marching? I don't know if you guys probably can't see that, but they're actually angling and they're marching towards the sugar can. Because this smells like that box where the queen was. So they're going, okay, maybe it's over here. They're kind of coming out the other side and they're kind of confused. Like, wait a minute, where's the queen? So, kind of went through everything kind of fast like I usually do. Is there any questions?
What's the best time of day?
Pretty much any time above 60 degrees. As long as there's sunlight out, you can pretty much do it any time. The warmer it is, the more they're going to be flying around, but you're not going to be inside a tent, so unless you're really kind of trained like me. But any time of the day is fine with them. You just don't, if you get them and you put them inside that hive, I usually go out early in the morning, like after I had a little bit of breakfast, and then I'll go out there and I'll start conducting hot plans or pulling them out and doing this. Got them. All right, so when people are checking on Verolamites, if you look up Verolamite on a bee on Google, you'll get all these pictures of all these beautiful bees with these Verolamites on their back. That is a very small percentage. If you're waiting to treat your hive for Verolamites by visual inspection, then you're missing almost everything. You've probably 2 to 3 weeks behind the game on treating your hive. That's why also when I'm doing inspections, I love to pick up the drones because they're not going to sting me. But I can push down on his abdomen here, get between his thorax and his abdomen. I can look at his head really close. I can pull, or I can flip him upside down and push his abdomen down. Any Verolamites, it's a little better to check because most of the Verolamites, about 95 to 90% that Dr. Samuel Ramsey was testing the bees. 96% of them are on the underside of the bee. For some reason, a little bit more on the left. I asked him about that. He goes, "I'm not sure. I haven't got that far." But another neat thing about drones, if you ever want to teach kids, take some sewing thread, wrap it. Where'd you go, buddy? I was using you. Wrap it around his abdomen and his thorax just a little bit, and make it about 12 inches, 14 inches long. Put him in a box, and then when you go into a school, well, that one little rowdy kid that run around all the time, let him hold the bee on a leash, and all of a sudden he's done. But sometimes it backfires because now all the kids are watching the kid with the bee on the leash. So, yeah, don't smash your thumb when you're smacking a board. But I think the little bit of cream went under my finger. All right. Any other questions? Keep feeding them until they get that drawn comb out. I personally don't feed, but you need to get them to be able to draw that comb out as quick as possible, so when the queen's out, she can start laying, and they get a good build up quick. Most of the packages are starting to come in now, and if you wanted to do a package, this is how you install a package. You nuke, basically you did kind of the same thing. You pull the frames out, but you have a big box, and you just drop the frames in there carefully. You want to make sure where the queen is, and if you don't know where she is, just kind of slowly put her in there, and then close it up. A nuke is much better because it's that queen with her own workers and her own drones. Everything in that nuke is related to her. Plus, she has all stages of life. She's already got eggs, larvae, and pupa ready to go. These have to start from the very beginning. They have to draw out the comb before they even start to lay, and they're usually about 2 weeks behind that nuke. Well, you usually get the nuke 2-3 weeks behind the packages, so it kind of levels out, but that nuke is it will build up much faster. When I install them, I usually let them stay like that for about a week and a half. Let them get used to it, make sure they're happy in their home. Then you can treat them, but I don't necessarily just treat for no reason. I want to know what the roll count is before I treat them. You can do a sugar shake, which doesn't kill the bees, but you can do the sugar shake once, shake all the mites out, put some more sugar in there, do it again, and you'll get a little bit more out. You won't get all the mites out. The only way to get a really good mite count is to put the bees in alcohol, kill them, and then shake them up, and it will dislodge all the bees, or all those mites. And then you get a really good count, but the only thing is you're killing all the bees. It's one of those things, do I sacrifice a few for the many? So, here's the little girl's trying to fan. There's a few of them trying to fan. She's got her little butt up in the air. They're just trying to fan that pheromone around. You can see they're starting to click here in the front. They're up here. You can't even see her wings going. She's fanning really fast, trying to push that pheromone out so all these other bees know where home is. Otherwise, they're all stuck up through here. And there's a few of them over there. So.
On the nuke is a queen. How does the queen stay where she's supposed to? How is she held in a spot?
In a nuke?
On the nuke.
She walks wherever she needs to go.
She's on frame.
Yep, she's on the frame. Now, you can use queen extruders or you don't have to. It just depends on who your mentor is. Basically, everybody kind of does what their mentor does. Like I said, I'm probably going to put this video on YouTube, but be careful watching YouTube. You don't know where that beekeeper's from, what their flow is like, their time of year. You have no idea if they have 6 months of experience or 60 years. So I usually try to look at the date of the video, and if it's like 4 or 5 years old and they haven't posted another single video, I don't pay too much attention to them because they probably either got out of bees because they killed their bees or they're just not that interested anymore. I don't know which. But yeah, I didn't think I'd like beekeeping as much as I do, but I try to run about 30 to 50 hives. Buddy, there you go. But beekeeping is very personal endeavor. Everybody here is going to end up doing beekeeping slightly different. I tend to do it quite a bit different than most people, but I am a state inspector for Tennessee, but I will tell you how to properly treat your bees. Most people are like, well, how do you treat your bees? I'm like, well, I don't treat my bees, but my bees haven't got to the point that their bees are at. I don't have to treat my bees because my bees have never gotten that sick. Now, if you got a bunch of varroa mite, you need to treat, kill the varroa mite, knock that varroa mite out so the bees have a chance to come back. It's kind of like when you take your kid to this the doctor. If he's got the sniffles, then you wipe his nose, you make sure he's eating properly for the next few days so he gets over that little bit of a cold. That's my same thing with the varroa mites. When I start to see a problem, I attack it. I don't wait until it becomes a flu, and then I gotta, get some medicine. I don't wait until it becomes pneumonia, and you got 17 mites in a half cup of feed, or 17 mites. Now all of a sudden you have to treat your hive. I have to take my kid to the hospital. He's got pneumonia. There's something that has to be doing. So if you watch your bees and you know what you're doing, you don't have to use a bunch of chemicals. Every once in a while, you probably will have to. It's just try to get to that point where you're learning enough, coming to the conventions. Everybody join a local bee club? Come on, yes, we belong to the local bee club.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. All right, so local bee clubs are very important because they give you that knowledge that YouTube doesn't. They know when the local flow is on. They give you different perspectives. Some clubs are very chemical dependent. They treat no matter what. They don't even take a varroa mite count. They just treat. Other clubs are like, no, you need to know what your count is so you can either treat or not. And then you get some other clubs that are like, no treating whatsoever. And then those are the ones that the bees usually die quite often because they don't watch the varroa mite. The varroa mite is one of the biggest problems. If you really want to start learning about bees, learn about the varroa mite and how to interact with that and kill those things. Tracheal mites are starting to kind of come back to Tennessee a little bit. So, any more questions? Or did I answer everything you ever wanted to know about bees? If that's possible, I don't think that's possible. I've been in bees 20 years and I still am learning stuff. So,
Yeah.
Now open the tent.
Yeah.
open the tent.
Everybody run! Everybody run!
Unless you got a happy fan, don't open it.
Do they all have the varroa mite no matter what?
Pretty much. Varroa mites came in 1982, and pretty much, I'm sure if I looked at these bees close enough, I'd find some varroa mites. But I wouldn't treat them unless I know I need, if there's too many in there, and I wouldn't treat them for at least about a week. Even if I did a count now, I would still wait a little bit, because if I put them under a bunch of stress inside this new hive, they're going to leave me. And I don't want to pay however much that package of bees is to have it just fly away on me. So, yeah, I'd like to thank Rossman, Apries, who's the vendor all the way at the back. He donated all this. He donated the extractor. So,
And the stand.
What about the electric heater? Does that kill those mites?
supposed to.
I don't like that answer.
There's a bunch of beekeepers, you'll find a good answer that you like. Yeah, beekeeping math, you ask one question to 10 beekeepers, you'll get 11 or 12 or 15 different answers. We agree on some things, and then other things we have all our own ideas. I haven't seen a good research done on it that actually does it. The only thing I worry about is being electronic. It can misfunction. You have a 3 degrees window between killing a mite and sterilizing your queen. I don't like that 3 degrees. And plus, I'm heating up the hive. What happens when the hive heats up? They create an air condition. They push the heat out of the hive.
Right,
It's not really doing anything. So, I mean, if it works for you, then do it. That's what I tell everybody. I'm like, if something's working and it's not what I do, but it works for you, keep doing it until it doesn't work, and then find another way. There's so many different ideas and things to work. And like, when it gets really hot, you don't have this entrance producer out here. There will be bees lined up. Some bees are pushing air into the hive, even though it's like 100 degrees. But if you look inside, you'll see all the bees lined up, and they're pushing it all the way up to the top, and then it's coming back down the side, and you'll see the bees on the other side of the board pushing the air out. So they're trying to circulate that air, and it's their own way of air conditioning. You can put your hand down there and be amazed how much air is actually coming out of that hive. So yeah, heating up the hive, I'd rather find natural ways to do things, or plus I'm just cheap as heck, and I don't.
How are you killing yours?
I do roll-up break, or